Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn.
E is exhaling, having an opportunity to breathe, to rest, to refill yourself and rejuvenate yourself, because no one can pour from an empty cup.
As you evolve and become more of yourself, you begin to attract the people that are there for you.
Amen.
So everything you need is in this space.
You have to learn from your mistakes. Once you make a mistake, sit down, recoup, and then start over. And once you do that, you say, I got that.
See, Juneteenth means to me, I would definitely say empowerment and education.
When I experienced it, like just coming together and, being a part of something bigger than myself, and
A new start, starting a new chapter, opportunity, new beginnings, all of that.
Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of our Lunch and Learn. I hope you guys all had a wonderful week and the anticipation was growing. It is my greatest pleasure to introduce to you the true queen of all trades, Sherrita C W Delacruz, a gifted artist hailing from Greensboro, North Carolina. With a passion for expression through her various mediums, Sherrita's exceptional talent in writing and poetry has impacted her life in profound ways since the tender age of 8. Her first hip-hop inspired EP, Ulterior Motive, drew high praise from spoken word icon Max Parathis, and her beat CD, the Cypha Sessions Edition 1.0, garnered rave reviews from music publication Insomniac magazine. With over 23 years of stage experience, both as a featured poet and a playwright, Sherrita has engaged audiences all across the United States with her inspiring and thought-provoking work. And let's not forget her culinary prowess as the owner of the hashtag #SheCookin LLC, where she puts her decades of food service management to good use with her scratch-made, non-vegan, and vegan cuisine. So without further ado, let's bring Sherrita to the stage and show her a lot of love in the chat, guys. Welcome, Sherrita. Thank you so much for being here on Lunch and Learn with us today. I would love for you to introduce yourself as the cooking and queening on many levels. Unmute yourself first. There we go.
All right, there you go. I just want to make sure I wasn't interfering with what you were doing. Yes, so my name is Sherrita C W Delacruz, and I'm the owner and CEO of SheCookin LLC out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Were you asking me about the term cooking and queening? All right, so the term cooking and queening on many levels is something I came up with in regard to myself, because I cook, but I cook, I want to say, like Keisha said, figuratively and literally. I cook food, I cook ideas. When I'm making beats, I'm cooking. That's a term that's utilized in the audio production beat making world, cooking. So I'm always cooking up something. I'm always up to something. And then queening, I'm just, being a Black woman every day, having to do my very best to exude integrity, excellence, and motivation, and all of that I do. So I'm always cooking and queening on many levels.
Thank you so much for being here today. I love that terminology. As a sister who loves to cook, I definitely resonate with your whole bio and everything you do, and I can't wait for you to share with our audience today. So first off, I want you to touch a little bit on your poetry journey, because you started from a very young age, and I want to know how that has impacted your life.
Poetry is one of the main reasons that I have been able to thrive as an individual. I started writing when I was young because I did grow up in a place where there were some types of dysfunctionality. I think we all grew up with some level of dysfunction, but I wasn't steadfast in making friends. I was a shy child. I'm still kind of shy as an adult, but I've kind of come out of that shell. Glory to God, because He gives me the boldness to do anything that I do. I used to journal a lot, and the journaling turned into poetry. I wrote short stories. I had a great imagination. Imagine that I thought that Snoopy lived in my attic growing up. So, it was a lot of imagination in play, a lot of expression on paper, drawing. I used to draw, even though it wasn't that great. I used to draw when I was young. That turned into being one of the better writers in class. I was always an avid reader. I want to say 8th grade, 9th grade, I got into reading Shakespearean plays. I was a Shakespeare oratory contestant in a couple of events in my, formative years in school before I left high school. And, just kind of carried on. Hip hop music was the one thing that really just put me on my ear as a writer and eventually a spoken word poet. The first cassette guys, I don't know if y'all are familiar with cassettes, but the first cassette that I ever purchased was 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul. And that in turn became like my favorite group because of their ability to express themselves with words. Individuality was a real big thing in regard to lyricism, rap, and poetry in the 90s. And I was able to take from that all that I needed to be able to embody the poet that I've become today. I got on my first stage at Thea's House of Blues. Boston's in Greensboro. Thea's House of Blues in Winston-Salem in 2000 on Liberty Street. Shouts out to Mark Smooth Words Worthy. He was one of the first people that I met when I got to Winston-Salem and recognized my talent. And from there it went. We did a lot of things with SECA over in Winston-Salem in the early 2000s. I eventually had my own open mic venue called Journeys in Esoteric Expression at the Good Company Artisan Cafe on 4th Street in Winston-Salem. Shouts out to Clement Mallory, Universal Mathematics 37, C37 Words. He was one of my mentors early in my development as far as poetry is concerned. So from there, I just started just doing more and more and more with the community with poetry. I came back to Greensboro, started doing some things as far as poetry and slam poetry. That's like in, I want to say, the 2010s up into now. Had a couple of open mics that I facilitated and curated. Nouns and Verb Poetry is a open mic, a poetry event that I had ongoing physically in Greensboro at the Artist Block, and I took it to Clubhouse. So it's now a virtual event. We're going to pick back up in January of 2024 with nouns and verb poetry. I want to say, let me see, shouts out to Southern Fried Poetry Festival. That's a regional festival that occurs yearly in June. I was able to participate as a slam poet for my very first time in regional competition in 2019 in Fayetteville. So there's lots of milestones that I have been able to achieve in poetry. The biggest thing that poetry does for me, it gives me an opportunity to say what I wouldn't otherwise be able to say to people around me. And then I can dissect what I want to be understood by others. Journaling is one of the biggest things because it gives me an opportunity to therapeutically deal with whatever is inside my head without having to talk to anyone. But at the same time, when I'm able to put things to paper and feel confident enough in those thoughts to be able to share, it's almost always encouraging to those around me. So I'm grateful for that ability to be able to be a catalyst and do what I can for others around me with my words.
Thank you for that beautiful intro to your world, because you've been doing this for 23 years, so you definitely do have a lot of experience, and I definitely you shout out so many people too, you know, because you realize the impact that it's had on you and others.
Yes. Can I give a couple of poetic shout outs before we move on? Because I know there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about, but shouts out to all my poetry people, specifically Moody Black, Max Parthas, Tribal Rain, Sunshine Cromwell. Oh gosh, all the names escape me. Charge it to my head, not my heart. But if you've ever influenced me in any way poetically, I just want to say thank you. And that's that with that.
Of course. And I do want to know, if you know off the top of your head, if you have a favorite moment while performing, since you've been doing it for so long and you've had so many different performances. Is there just that one that really just stands out in your mind?
I want to say when I got that 27-8 at Southern Fried. I did a poem that was near and dear to my heart. It was called Dwindling My Power. It was talking about abortion. And it took me a long time to be able to even come to the stage with that poem. That poem had been in the stash for years, but I wanted to be impactful. I think sometimes with poetry, people who don't understand the art will say, oh, they're just up there spilling their hearts and their minds for points. No, it's not even that. It's kind of like you want to be impactful in regard to the things that are occurring in that day and age. And, you know, I just wanted to be able to share with women my experience and my recovery in regard to it. And so I put my heart, mind, body, and soul in that thing. I got a 27-8. So that just lets me know that 1, I delivered it well, 2, someone was touched by it, and 3, the purpose for the poem was fulfilled, to be able to bring it to the public the way that I needed to.
That's beautiful. And that was at a competition?
It was, yeah, Southern Fried Poetry Competition in Fayetteville in 2019.
Nice.
Now, mind you, I didn't go any further. I think the next poem that I didn't really go much further with the points, but of course you do 3 rounds. You know, it did what it did.
yeah, that's beautiful, and especially such a powerful topic, you know, and to even have the bravery to get on stage and so vulnerable, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so I know you've been a poet, but you also make this smooth blend into music, right? So
right.
Your EP Ulterior Motive was praised due to that blend of music and poetry. And I really want to know if you could share with us what your creative process was behind when making it.
Absolutely. Shouts out to Mike Check with Dark Park Productions. He did majority of the production on that project. I did 2 of the beats. You can find it on Bandcamp. You can actually just type Sherrita C. Williams and everything about me will come up in Google. That CD, Ulterior Motive, let's start with the title. It had an ulterior motive because I wanted to educate and entertain at the same time. I'm always about enlightenment and trying to get people to fulfill the great and positive points in their lives. So with me creating Ulterior Motive and the poems on that project, it gave me a chance to do that. And I was very, very creatively free with it. Shouts out to Midnight Studios. That's where I recorded that in 2014, 15. And forgive me because that's almost a decade ago. So I'm just rehashing thoughts. Thank you for even bringing me to this place because it was a happy spot. I think I recorded that project in 3 days because I was just really ready. Of course, you rehearse the poetry with the beats yourself and this, that, and the third. But when you get in the booth, it's like showtime. Even though you're not on an actual stage, that's literally your stage because you're being captured vocally on audio. I just wanted to do my very best. And I think that was one of my best works. There's also another work that's out. It's called El Parela. You can find that on YouTube. It was actually a maxi single with 3 poems on it. I can drop that link for you as well. But Ulterior Motive, that was my baby. Even all the way down to the album cover, you will see me sitting at a desk by lamplight, thinking of what to write, but I'm in a forest. But there's light behind me. So it's kind of like, and a snake. It's a snake over my shoulder. So that's almost like the snake is the world peeping in on my thoughts. The darkness around me, the forest that I'm in was really like kind of like how dark the world can be, but the light at the desk shining on the desk and the pen and the pad, that just kind of illuminated what those resources provide me an opportunity to do my thing. It was just really exciting. Thank you for bringing me back to that thought. That makes me smile.
Of course. Been the thought behind it, it's so intentional. I love that. And
yes.
I can feel that happiness you have emanating just through the screen, And
thanks.
Yeah, so it didn't only stop at your EP, right? So you also did a CD. Mm-hmm. And I heard you were the first female beat maker in Greensboro, North Carolina to release an instrumental beat CD, which is such a huge accomplishment. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I wanted to know, how did you feel upon receiving the reviews from Insomniac magazine?
Funny story. I didn't even know that they reviewed it. Someone told me that they reviewed it. Honestly, and shouts out to my husband, DJ Sugar Shack, Jose Sugar Shack Delacruz Sr. He's historically been my DJ for 23 years. And he and I and a close acquaintance, brother of ours, Prop Joe, were sitting around, and I had a crap load of beats that I had made. And we were just sitting there listening to each other's beats because we all make music. He's like, man, Sherrita, you really need to put this together. You need to really do a beat CD. And I was like, man, really? Seriously? He's like, yeah. And so I did. I want to say I released that in August of 2019. And by November 2019, there was a review. And I was excited because North Carolina hip hop is one of those things that people pay attention to. We got J. Cole coming out of North Carolina. We got Jamla Records coming out of North Carolina. Ninth Wonder, Rhapsody, the Soul Council. All of these great elements of hip hop coming out of North Carolina. And Insomniac Magazine is one of those places that exemplifies North Carolina hip hop. And for me to be able to get a review, and I want to say they said heat. They called it heat of some sort. I was like, oh wow, I have heat. So yeah, that made me feel like, whenever you are doing something, and there's a thin line between caring what people think and then understanding what your place is in a foundation of something. I didn't want to let it take me too far in my head about it, but for that magazine to acknowledge my work, it made me feel like, hey, I need to continue pressing and doing this work. It was not fruitless, if that makes sense. So that made me very excited. Especially, it totally was a surprise because I did not even know.
Indeed.
And shouts out to Insomniac Music for the review.
Yeah. Do you mind also including some information about what was your inspiration behind creating the Cypha Sessions Edition 1.0?
I like making music to landmark a thing. So if there's something going on, it comes to me in colors. Music does come to me in colors. And so at that point, from like 2012 to 2015, and then 15 to 19, that was just a hotbed of stuff that was going on in my life. I had to write stuff down. I had to make music to I guess, complement or create a soundtrack to the things that I was experiencing. So at that point, it was just like really, really an exciting time in music for me, and in literary art for me. So that was my inspiration, just being so motivated and excited about what was going on at that time. Good things, good positive things. I will say, and I'll just be candid because I want to let people know that there is, because in this age of social media and even opportunities like this, people will give you the sunny side all day long, but I'm one of the people that likes to give it from both directions, so there will be a balance and a human touch on it. I've made maybe 5 beats in the last 2 years at this point, though I'm very, very talented and good at it, by the grace of God, of course. There have been some things that have happened in my life that, kind of put me in a place where I've just really been in my head a lot, but I'm coming back around to it. So I'm very, very grateful to be able to have gotten out of that space that kind of stagnated me. I have a lot of things that I have looked into as far as sampling ability and just time management to be able to sit down and make music again. Even like with the poetry, I'm actually getting out of my head and putting that stuff on paper because it's stifling me at this point. When you're a creative, and I think a lot of creative people will agree, when you utilize the arts to be able to get things out or as a therapeutic measure, sometimes it don't come the way that it usually comes, because some things just get so heavy and bog you down. But truly, by the grace of God, I come out of these dark places and will continue to still do those great things.
Definitely. And, as someone who's experienced those dark places myself, and I can definitely relate on many grounds where you just feel like, your work isn't really doing what you needed to do in the moment, but you got to get through it.
Yes.
Definitely resonate with what you're trying to put out there.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond poetry, beyond music, you also do plays, right? And you have a trilogy of plays, right? Yeah, what's up?
Yes.
They're
Yes.
Fool's Gold, yeah.
Fool's Gold. Yes. I will say I haven't always been a playwright. This is my first set of plays that I've written.
Okay.
I have lots of ideas and things like that. There's levels to it, right? Like you can journal, but sometimes that journaling isn't enough and it becomes a poem. And then sometimes that poem isn't enough and it becomes a book or a short story or a chapbook. And then sometimes that's not enough and you have to take it to the next level. There's different levels of literary art, of course. So the stories that I needed to tell that would not be justified in a poem, a short story, or a book, I had to create plays in order for people to get the real understanding of where I was coming from. If you don't mind me addressing the situation, domestic violence, domestic abuse, I don't think that you can really, oh, excuse me, not you or anyone else, me. I don't believe that I would have been able to versify what I needed to versify about domestic abuse or domestic violence in a poem or a book. It was really never my, excuse me, it was really never my intent to even venture into doing plays. Because I'm a Jackie of all trade, but people know that term, but they don't know the last part, master of none. So I don't want to put myself in a place to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. But whenever God wills you to do some things, you got to do some things. And to have put Fool's Gold, the trilogy, into play form is the only way for it to be done. For people to be able to experience that. It will debut in October 2024. Stay tuned to those details. But I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited about the ability to even bring it to a stage, because a lot of people don't understand the gravity of domestic violence or domestic abuse or the effects of it. This first one, Fool's Gold Relayed, kind of focuses on teen domestic violence, domestic abuse, because there's a few points of my personal life, obviously, that are placed into the play or into the nuggets of the play. I had my daughter when I was 15 years old, and I was involved in a situation where I, feared for my life a couple of times. And so, it was a touchy situation for me, but there's so many people that are dealing with it. I really believe that I'll be able to help the community with some of these ails if they can understand that, hey, someone went through it. By the grace of God, here I am, and I look like this and I feel like this at this point in my life. And there is hope at the end of the tunnel with that, as far as domestic abuse and domestic violence is concerned. So I just look forward to being able to share it with people, and I hope people enjoy it as well.
Indeed, I definitely agree with the heaviness of it. The details always get lost in translation, and there's always so much more going on than people can imagine. So I definitely agree that sometimes just doing like a little small snippet really never fully grasps the whole idea of what needs to be learned about the realities, right?
Right.
So I definitely would look forward to even seeing your play, your trilogy, right? So now you also are going to be releasing a publishing deal, right? With Prismatic Dreams, yeah?
Yeah, I have a publishing deal with Prismatic Dreams. Shouts out to Tribal Rain to write this book, publish this book. It's called Sitting on the Edge of Darkness.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a guide in a way, how to get out of survival mode. A lot of us don't even realize that we're living in survival mode, or that we have lived in survival mode. When you've had to fight in your mind or fight physically to be able to have the type of life that you want to have, when you get to a place where you don't have to fight anymore, you might not realize that you don't have to fight as hard as you did anymore. Don't get me wrong, we all got to be on our P's and Q's, but at the same time, survival mode is something different. It'll change your mind, your heart, your mentality on how you deal with people, how you deal with situations. When you're out of survival mode, you have more of a peace of mind. Joy is a lifestyle when you're not in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? Not that joy doesn't exist as a lifestyle in survival mode, but I'm just saying, like, you get to a place where I want to say Tina Turner had a song called I Don't Want to Fight Anymore. I don't know how dated that is for you guys, but if you want to go to YouTube and YouTube this song called I Don't Want to Fight Anymore by Tina Turner. It kind of enlightens an individual to understand that there is a desire or a place in every human heart, mind, body, and soul that I want to be able to just be and exist and do the things that I would like to do, not feel inferior to self or self's past. You know what I'm saying? You can't live in your past. You can't live in your present. You got to live for your future, if that makes sense.
Indeed. And I would love to know if you could explain a little bit what inspired you to write it.
Dealing with situations over and over again. I don't know who said it, but there's a quote. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And I was doing some insanity-based things, like trying to handle situations and people in the same way, letting people and situations handle me the same way, getting out of something. I'm never going to deal with that again, and totally end up dealing with that again on another level. And I had to realize the change was in me. It was after a breakup, and I really had to realize that I was seeking some things in other individuals that I needed to understand for myself, right? And I took a hiatus from dating and from people in general. God bless my grandfather. He passed in 2020, but I was his caretaker for 5 years, so I resided in his home. And being that he had dementia, things had to be very, very routine around the house. There was no one really coming by. There was no real doorbells ringing all the time. There was never really just a bunch of company in the house. So within the solitude that needed to be created for his existence to be stable, being his in-home caretaker, I also had to understand that solitude and be in that solitude. And I really kind of kept myself away from people except for going to work, you know, and I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about socializing. I might have did a few open mics here and there, but I really just took some time to get to re-know myself. And I realized that there was some ugly stuff about me. I was intolerable at one point. I was just outright unbearable to myself. And if I'm exuding these attributes to myself, looking in the mirror, how am I magnifying myself to people around me? Survival mode. I'm just always defensive. I'm always on my T all the time, just like ready for somebody to, but that's part of the domestic abuse. That's part of the self-esteem issues, not valuing myself enough. And man, I got really, really strong over that 5-year period of time. And even just in the spirit of my grandfather being around me, I got very, very strong in that 5-year period of time, getting out of survival mode. And I was able to obtain the self-worth that I needed, the self-image that I needed. And then eventually the relationship that I always wanted but never knew I needed, right? Like I was not looking for the man that I married, though he was my friend for 19 years before we dated. I'd known him the whole time. He has witnessed everything that I had gone through. But it wasn't until after I allowed God to do that work inside of me that I was able to even see that that was actually just sitting before my face the whole time. Of course, he didn't know either, because we were truly platonic friends the whole time. But when I tell you, digging inside, doing that work, I don't really like to say, shadow work or what have you. I'm talking about just getting with God, praying, tarrying, doing the work, understanding more of what God's desire for your life is, his will for your life. We can't operate outside the will that God has for any of our individual lives. We cannot. We're born with purpose. We're born with our destiny intact, and it's up to us to understand and get to a place to what we know what God wants for us, right? And that's what getting out of survival mode is about. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful. You have me captivated, because I know if you experienced it, and throughout our conversation, I've experienced a lot of similar situations myself. So I know there could be anyone watching this that definitely resonates with what you are saying. Mm-hmm. And, for you to be vulnerable enough and be brave enough to put it out there for the world to learn from it and to receive, I definitely commemorate you on all levels.
Thank you. May I say something additionally?
Yeah.
As Black women, historically, we have had to have strength that we might not have known that we needed to have as young women, as girls, as young women, as teenagers. We have battles to fight that no one understands. And I'm not even talking about domestic violence at this point. I'm talking about waking up, preparing our bodies for our day, being able to go out into this world and do what we have to do and stand firm and stand tall and be confident and proud in who we are. They started to try to deal with this with our hair. And I just say they, because I'm talking about anyone outside of Black women. All right. If your face starts to get hot, it probably is for you. But if it's not, you can understand where I'm coming from. Stifling in any way possible. I don't know. I really, really, I'm a lover of people, and I'm a lover of mankind. So I really just try to find in my mind that we are going to be able to overcome anything that the world shoots at us, right? Being able to just really just embrace ourselves and be who we are. We can read books and speak well and mingle with this person or that one and still have heritage, still have pride in ourselves. Just because one of the biggest things, and I'm just going to say it, just because I speak well and I read well doesn't mean that I want to be white. Just because I braid my hair or if I wear a straight wig, that doesn't mean that I want to be white. You know what I'm saying? From the intra racial aspect or the extra racial situation, like we can just be and just let us be. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at this point. And getting out of survival mode, even survival mode is like worrying about how your hair looks. when you go out to a job? Do I have to really hide my hair to be the best employee? You know what I mean? It might sound very, very small to some people, but I'm gonna leave it right there.
No,
So we can
I
go
hear
on to
you, girl.
another point.
I hear you, because some people will really sit here and say it's not that deep, and it's like, oh, honey, it's that deep, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But thank you so much for expressing yourself, you know, and on your arts. And I do want to touch on your hashtag She Cooking LLC before we go.
Okay.
Now you have decades of experience in service management, right? And I want you to share what sets your scratch made dishes and desserts apart from others, and what inspired you to start that business.
Thank you. I have amassed a great amount of time in food service. It's my 30th year in the traditional workforce, and I want to say about 25 years of that has been in food service, whether it's being a cashier or being a manager or a black hat sous chef. I understand the ins and outs of business. I understand the ins and outs of food preparation, the ins and outs of serving. First and foremost, I am of service to people, period. That is something that, you know, God has called us to do as individuals, period. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. That's being in service to somebody, right? So even taking that concept to the food that you prepare, to how you talk to them whenever you're taking an order, even if you have internal customers, your employees, your co-workers inside the food service establishment are your internal customers. So you're just basically treating people how you want to be treated on every level, right? The scratch made concept comes from clean eating. We know the preservatives and foods that are processed can, you know, harm us over time. I'm a perfect example of that because I'm one of those people that really just ate what I wanted to my entire life. And I love to eat, and I like to eat good food. I had my gallbladder taken out in 2017. I want to say that I was diagnosed with my first gallbladder attack in 2010. It took me that long to get it out, not because I couldn't get it out, but it was kind of like, or it was really stupid when I say I didn't have time or I was scared. But it could kill you if you keep having these gallbladder attacks, right? I want to say my last gallstone attack in 2017 is the one where they're like, Sherrita, you got to do it or something's going to happen to you. And I had my gallbladder removed. The gallbladder or gallstones are calcifications of fatty deposits in the foods that you eat, right? Obviously, I was eating a lot of fatty foods, a lot of things that just weren't good for me. I am at this point 75% vegan because I have my fish days and I have my chicken days because I love chicken, right? But the foods that I do prepare for myself are the same types of foods that I prepare outside of my home. Shishi cooking. Shishi, my nieces and nephews call me Shishi because my name has 3 syllables. It's Sherrita, you know, and they're little kids. It's not easy to say that. So Shishi, Auntie Shishi, right? So Shishi cooking. That's where that came from. Being able to serve people in the way that I serve myself is one of the greatest things that I can do in my community. Healthier eating, tasty food, Southern foods with a French aesthetic. Lots of French foods are prepared by reduction. And I'll just go ahead and just say that. It's a healthier way to do it simply because you're taking water, seasoning, and the food that you're preparing it, you're boiling it down. A lot of Southern foods are already prepared that way. But if you add this product or this meat or this item to it, it makes it not so great. animal products. Even when it comes to the peach cobblers that I make, I've had people tell me, now ain't nobody's peach cobbler better than grandma's peach cobbler. Okay, I will never try to level out like that. But yeah, I've had people tell me that my peach cobblers are some of the best that they've had. I don't use animal products in the foods that I prepare, as far as shishi cooking and the vegan aspect, right? I do cook non-vegan because I can cook really well. I cook non-vegan by request. But as far as the food truck or my brick and mortar, I will be the Shishi Cooking brand will be the vegan. If I do anything that's non-vegan, it'll be under another entity or whatever. But Shishi Cooking will be will be the vegan aspect of the food that I prepare.
That's beautiful. And I love how you emphasize the fact about health, right? And especially, since you are a Black woman, and many, not even just women of color, but men and women of color, like their diet has been heavily attacked by processed foods and additives and ingredients in the foods that they just think, oh well, like it tastes good, so I'm gonna enjoy it. But you clearly made a way that food could still taste good and not harm your body, so it's possible.
Can I interject real quick? I want to shout out Atal Alamin with Atal Eats. She has nourished many people from North Carolina to South Carolina to Georgia. She is one of the, and Morgan Renee Myers with More of My Enterprises. These two ladies were are my mentors when it comes to cooking. And they love me enough to share with me their ideas and tips, and they've made me who I am when it comes to the vegan food. I would be remiss if I didn't say anything about those guys. I love them greatly. If y'all are tuning in, just want to say thank you publicly for anything that you've ever done to help Shishi Cooking come to fruition. And I will emphasize one more time, when the brick and mortar or the food truck debut, the food on those entities will be vegan. Shishi Cooking does cook non-vegan on request. I just want to make that clear, because you have vegan people out here and try to get it mismatched and this, that, and the third. No, I clearly know the difference, and I understand, and I want people to know that I know.
Thank you. And before we head out of here, I have a couple questions that the audience would love to know.
Okay.
Well, it will be, what do you want the main takeaways from today's session to be?
You can overcome any adversity that life hands you. Like, I just to be frank, ever since I was 4 years old, ever since I can remember, I've been dealing with stuff on one level or another. I'm not even talking about just light things. I'm talking about heavy duty things. And God willing, I'll be 47 on the 8th next month. And I feel really, really good about the way that I'm still intact, mind, body, and soul. Of course, I'm working on that body, but I'm talking about mentally and emotionally. I'm getting better and better. To be able to still be a sound mind at this point. Those that know me understand that. I might delve into that in a book or a play or something later, but I'll just say, keep it right there. To be a sound mind is a really, really serious treasure that I embrace, and it's important. Don't let anything take you to a place where you can't figure out what it is that God wants with you and do it. Don't. What did my aunt say? She said, you can cry about it, you can be sad about it, but don't live there. look at it like a pit stop. Like, oh, all right, this is Sad Town. We'll take residence over here for like a couple of hours, days if you have to, but don't stay in that place. Allow yourself the gravity to be who you need to be. And put God first, to keep God first and keep praying. And even if the thing doesn't come to you the way that you want to, if you sit there, and we'll just take it to a cooking reference. Some people want the cake in the box with the icing on it, already frosted here, right? But then God might give you eggs, flour, milk, an oven, some pans, some oil. And you're like, man, God did not give me what I wanted. It's not going to look like what you think it's going to look like. Just keep your eyes peeled and your mind open and your spirit open to understand what God wants for your life.
Indeed. I definitely love that reference. I love that. I'm going to use that.
I've seen it other places, but my aunt said it to me most recently. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now I want to know, who is your favorite hip hop artist besides yourself? Can't say yourself.
Oh, I would never say me, because I'm not even my favorite, right? But most recently, Queen Latifah, she's one of my favorites, but she's someone that I can speak on right now. I was a little bit, I was asking my husband, I said, has Queen Latifah ever been nominated to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Shouts out to Missy Elliott for her induction. And, we was like, oh no, blah, 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 blah. So then most recently, I want to think it was this week. She was actually given a Kennedy Center honor. And she's the first female rapper to garner that induction into Kennedy Center honors. And it was just exciting to me. And I was thinking about her as an artist. And she blazed the trail for all of us, to be strong, to be Black, to be beautiful, sexy, sassy, and lyrical. And her whole makeup is everything that exemplifies Black excellence in women. So yes, she would be someone that I could definitely speak very, very well about as far as one of my faves.
That's beautiful. All right. Now we would love to know, what does Kwanzaa mean for you?
Kwanzaa is a period of time we can all revisit the idea of economic empowerment, and the principles that Kwanzaa brings forth just reminds us of we can do this for ourselves if we try. Shouts out to the Kwanzaa initiative here in our area. Shouts out to Mama Nia. Rest in peace, rest in power. Kwanzaa is just a good time to revisit what it is that you're doing in your life to create economic empowerment, and what you can do to help your community with it. That's what that means to me.
Indeed. And lastly, but definitely not least, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
A lot of times people get really, really excited about Juneteenth, and Black people are freed up, and yes, absolutely. But it doesn't stop there. That's my takeaway from it. Juneteenth is the ability for us to say, hey, yes, we got a milestone, but we have so much more work to do as individuals and as a community. And let's just keep pushing forward and doing that work together. You have to get away from the stigmas of, what is she doing? Or what is he doing? Right? It's not even that. We have to actually know in our hearts that people can really be doing similar things or things of similar interest and still thrive amongst each other. God gives each of us a gift, right? And just because your gift might look like mine, it ain't got the same wrapping. Perfect example, like I got like 4 rolls of gift wrap over here. But I'm probably going to give some of my younger family members similar gifts, but they're going to be wrapped different so you can tell them apart. Does that make sense?
It definitely does, you know, and
Yeah.
it's the whole idea of, yeah, we may be from the same culture, we may be the same gender, we may be the same age, but that don't mean we're the same, you know? Like,
Right.
and everyone, some people may even have the same gift. There's other poets, but nobody does poetry like Sherrita, you know?
Right.
So,
Absolutely. I'll take it a step further. Like in the 90s, you had Erica Badu, you had Missy, you had Little Kim, you had Foxy Brown. You know, that's all of these women doing the same thing, but in their own way. And that's just how it has to be in the community that we live in. And just to be able to thrive amongst one another and be confident in your ability to do that thing that God has put in you so you can do your part to make it shine.
indeed. You know, thank you so much, Sherrita. It was such a pleasure having you on Lunch and Learn. I know I learned so much, and I'm pretty sure our audience enjoyed your presence as much as I did. Any final words, and do you want to mention where people can contact you if they're interested in seeing some of your work or maybe getting some of your food?
No problem. Like I mentioned, you can Google Sherrita C. Williams. I got married last year, so I don't know if the algorithm has picked up on my my new last name, but you can Google Sherrita C. Williams, and they'll take you to the Bandcamp for the two projects, Cypha Sessions um, 1.0, Ulterior Motive EP, the Insomniac interview. Um, Even to the poetry, you can put Sherrita C. Williams or Sherrita C W Delacruz in YouTube, and it'll get all my poetry and events that I've done. You can also follow me on Instagram. I am _ she will, SHEWILL. She Cooking is also on Instagram at SHECOOKN. Let me see if there's anything else. www.esotericaentertainment.com. I'll put the link in for you. That's just all things esoteric entertainment. That's anything from the plays to me to the food and all of this. If you want to reach me, just reach out, DM me, and we'll see what I can. Let me think. Oh, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Blast music 24/7. You're gonna find a lot of great content, but among that great content, you'll find the Middle Page Podcast, which is the podcast that I do for middle-aged folks, and Figures of Speech Talkcast, where I talk to activists and community members about their impact on the community. So that's a lot, but there it is.
No, definitely, like you said in the beginning, cooking and queening, just doing all the things that you know how to do. Thank you. I will catch you on the backstage, and send her some love in the chat if you're here watching live with us, as a big thank you for being on Lunch and Learn today. So thank you so much for tuning into our Lunch and Learn, everybody. We hope you had as much fun as I did, and don't forget to mark your calendars for next week, Thursday. We will be having Beck and Cam on. So also, we are going to be having our early bird vendor registration, sponsorship sign up, advisory board applications open for Juneteenth 2024 right here on our website. You can also check out our Facebook, Instagram, follow, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the Lunch and Learns and future events that we do. So while you're there, just keep in touch with us and keep this wonderful conversation going. Thank you, everyone. I'm Alyssa Luce, and I'll catch you guys in the future.
Exciting news, New Yorkers! Juneteenth, the celebration of freedom and unity, is just around the corner. Want to be a part of this historic celebration? Now's your chance. Juneteenth applications are now open for the Juneteenth festivities in New York City. It's simple and easy to apply. Just visit our website at www.juneteenthny.com and fill out the form. Can't wait to see it. Make sure you have all your essentials ready. A unique product, your contact info, and a desire to share in this special occasion. Join a vibrant community of vendors and share your talents and culture with thousands of attendees. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Apply now because the world is about to celebrate and you should be a part of it. See you at Juneteenth in New York.